are in Oshkosh, Wisconsin in the Warbird area, which is, by the way, the place to be. To see this many airplanes of so many different types and the people who operate them, you cannot explain Oshkosh to somebody. This is where we see all of the airplanes and the owners, and so just to walk the flight line is wonderful. We also have a Warbird tour tram that will take people around through the Warbird area and explain to them which airplanes are here and a little history about them. Then of course you come to the Warbirds and Review area, but for the average person who comes here, I think just come see us wander around. As I said early on, we're the place to be.
I also have a shoulder holster. Does anybody have a pistol?
I started Warbirds in Review more than 20 years ago with the idea of people watching the airplanes and the owners work on them, and then we added the veterans. Bud Anderson, Brigadier General, retired, passed away on May 17th. So this year, our very special Tuesday afternoon, that was always his time slot for more than 20 years, we did a tribute to Bud. That was a very emotional program and very well attended. It's different not to have Bud here.
Piper L-4 Cub. In civilian days, you would see them yellow with a black lightning stripe down the side. The military took the civilian version and turned it into something they could see out of more, so they put what they refer to as the greenhouse on top, so you can see all the way around the airplane as you're flying it. So now it's a little bit heavier, a little bit stouter than the civilian yellow, but they do all the same thing. Liaisons did everything. They carried generals into sites, they carried the wounded out, they oversaw things going on in the front line to tell them in the back line what was going on.
Behind me we have Curtiss SB-2C Helldiver, fresh out of restoration here at EAA AirVenture. It came from the Fag and Fighters World War II Museum out of Grand Falls, Minnesota. So the plane just came out of restoration. It currently has 7 hours on it. I've got 5 guys in the shop that were working on it full-time for the last 6-7 years, and then in the last 2.5 months we've been working 80, 100-hour weeks. I mean, just trying to get this thing here to EAA AirVenture. A lot of people are showing great interest in it, and we've had great crowds around it all week long. You know, all the stories and emotions and everything that it brings, and that's why we do this.
This is a FG-1 Corsair, so this is the first generation of the Corsair. So this was a naval base, so you hear the Navy and the Marines. The Marines flew them land-based, the Navy flew them off the carrier. So it was used late in World War II and then definitely in the Korea conflict, before the jet age. It's kind of surreal to think back of that 19-year-old loaded up, they're shooting, trains. I would lie to you if I didn't say that I have a tear roll down my face flying this aircraft. I feel that 18, 19, 20-year-old as I'm advancing the throttle, the hair stands up on my neck, thinking of them. The smiles that we create are priceless. People ask what it costs to own these aircraft, what it costs to maintain. The price is irrelevant because the reward is endless. And the way I look at it, if I've changed the direction of one child's life, it's worth every penny it costs to own and maintain these aircraft. And I feel that we've done that.
So with this plane, I'm the mechanic for it. I was put in charge in 2017 to complete the restoration that had been previously started and kind of got sidetracked a few times with other restoration projects that came online. And then finally in 2017, we had completed the Spitfire and moved on to fully complete the Hawker Hurricane. Having authentic pieces is what you want in a restoration of a Warbird, especially such as a Hurricane where there's so few flying around. We put a lot of effort in trying to go and build up relationships with people in England who are a great help just locating parts that are so hard to find now. Getting them in, putting them together, and it's really a great community of people to build a Warbird.
So this is the T-28 Trojan, the A model. This was an early T-28 designed and built for the Air Force. You can see it's actually painted up navy, so it was redone several years ago, but we think it looks pretty cool with the checkerboard. So this is our aircraft, checkmate. So the T-28 was used as a trainer to transition pilots out of World War II into the jet age. You'll notice if you set a T-28 and a F-86 Sabre side by side, they have very similar fuselage, almost identical canopies, and the pilots are eye to eye. This was a really exciting year. This is my second year bringing the T-28 to Oshkosh. It's actually the 75th anniversary of the T-28s. One of the coolest things about this trainer is it is actually, the T-28 was a combat aircraft. It was used for counterinsurgency in Vietnam and some other conflicts. And so we're out here flying around true Warbirds that are just so easy and fun to fly. It's just an absolute blast.
Well, behind me here is an A-26 known as the Invader. She was built in 1944, and the real purpose of her was all of our bombers were getting picked off by the fighters, and they really needed to get something that could outrun those fighters so that we could be more effective and lose less men in the theater back in World War II. So the A-26 is a little bit of an unsung hero. The B-25s love them, kind of a sister medium bomber, but they've had some really great movies. This one is kind of missing that, and I think that's why. This airframe served in World War II, in Korea, Vietnam, and she served in the Bay of Pigs and the conflict with Cuba. And then she did a whole lot of CIA work. This aircraft behind me is 80 years old and she's still flying. I mean, that's got to be interesting, and that might be the spark that lights your kid on fire. The Warbirds are very special because you're going to find a lot of salty dogs around these things that have flown them, mechanicked them. There is so much going on here, you cannot not have a great time.
When I started in Warbirds of America, we wanted to be all-encompassing. We wanted all the airplanes to be well represented, and they weren't always. One of the efforts we've made, and we've continued to make up here in the Warbirds of America, is all the airplanes had a significant role in the history. They all have a story to tell, and we try to tell that story, and that's what we're trying to honor here. We're not making, heroes out of everybody, but we certainly want to make sure the stories are told. Being part of this movement, being part of telling this story is hugely important, and we don't ever want to let that go away. We want to keep them flying.